Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner, place where we talk about anything and everything that is geek, whether it be TV, comics, movies, or video games. And for this week's episode, I think I'm gonna kind of veer away from the usual topic this week and discuss something that's I kind of been thinking about lately. Um, and that is I heard and that is um, what is the difference between a geek and a nerd? What brought this on was that just within the past about a couple weeks ago, or actually the show actually this was late. This was sometime early in the year, late last year. One where I don't know if you ever saw if any of y'all watched this show. Watched the show Foamy the Squirrel, which is kind of a more adult show oriented show, internet cartoon about a little foul mouthed squirrel that essentially just kind of gives his advice about the world's problems and but basically it gives his worldview about different affairs in society, whether it be something from like um, health to like health related stuff to video game related stuff to entertainment related stuff to he just kind of gives his view on in cartoon form on a lot of different points, a lot of different things in the world. And as I said, it was a few months ago, but I saw this episode again recently of Foamy, where he was talking about geek culture, and he going on to talk about geek stuff and everything. I realized that, and my wife realized it. Me and my wife realized it that he was essentially lumping geeks and nerds into the same category. He's essentially saying he was saying essentially nerds and geeks are the same thing. Just like there's some people out there that think goths and emos are the same thing, and I'm here to say, just like goths are not the same as emos, geeks are not the same as nerds. And this week, I thought I would discuss the differences between nerds and geeks. And first off, I start by saying I'm a geek. I'm a self-professed geek. And to me, geek has always been associated with what you see behind me. Stuff like comics and sci-fi stuff. I mean, I love comic book stuff, particularly Superman, of course. Comics, sci-fi, monster movies, stuff like that. I've always associated geeks, like I said, mostly associated with comic books, like comic book, and hence the term comic book geek, of course. Um, and sci-fi geek and onward. But I said to me, that's always been associated with geek. To me, it's like you're real avid into comics. You go to comic conventions. You always looking for the latest comic related news or science fiction related news like Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, stuff like that, or anything science fiction, or anything fantasy like Lord of the Rings or anything like that, or monster movie related like Godzilla, or like I said, just a geek. Just like a geek. I've always think comic book geek. And of course, they call stuff. I've heard the term math geek, science geek. Well, there's different ways of being a geek. Well, to me, and also to me, that's always been classified as a geek. It's mainly comic books and science fiction and stuff like that. And to me, nerd has always been associated with intellect. I mean, used to growing up, whenever I heard somebody being called a nerd, usually they were. I mean, the stereotypical nerd they always show on TV is um always has the pocket protector and the glasses, and always like a math whiz. It's always like a math whiz and stuff like that. Like real good in school, real knowledgeable with technology and math and science and stuff like that. To me, that's always been the classification of a nerd. I mean, to me, that mainly is the difference. And that geek, I ain't saying geeks are dumb. No, I mean there's people that are the same thing. To tell you the truth, there's some that maybe are the same thing. They're real smart. They got a really high IQ. They're real good at math and science and stuff. And on the other hand, they're big time comic book geeks. Like I know this is probably not a good example, but Sheldon, the character Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory, which I'm wearing the shirt. Like I said, he's kind of the both worlds thing. I mean, he's a scientist, he's a math whiz and everything, and also he's a big time Trekkie and a big time comic book geek. Like you, if anybody's ever seen the show, they've seen it. That you see his apartment there. He's got like a mix of nerdish stuff and geeky stuff too. I mean, it's filled with like science fiction, comic book memorabilia all over the place. And like I said, there are people that are the best of both worlds. But like I said, being a geek, being a geek is completely different from being a nerd. Usually, as I said, usually you think of nerds as being like bookworms, always reading, always doing math, and being real good at math and science, and like I said, always reading books and always on the computer, real knowledgeable with technology and stuff like that. You always think of that as a nerd. And whenever you think, and I said, as I said before, whenever I think geek, I think of somebody like me that really loves comics and sci-fi and stuff like that. I said, and for somebody to straight out lump them into the same category like they are, like geeks and nerd are the same thing, to me is a little bit ignorant. It is a sign of misinformation and ignorance. The same as when people lump goths and emos into the same category as being the same thing just because they look the same. That doesn't matter. Just because certain groups of people look alike doesn't mean they're the same thing. As I said, just because nerds and geeks almost look alike, that doesn't mean nerds and geeks are all in the same. No. Like I said, there's people out there that could be geeks and nerds too. They'd be geeky and nerdy too. I mean, it's not exclusivity, but like I said, they're not this. Being a geek and being a nerd is not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I mean, I say, and from my point of view, for somebody to say that out and out make it sound like the geeks and nerds are the same thing is just, like I said, it's just wrong. It's ignorant, and they're just grossly misinformed, and they need to read up on what it is on what a nerd is, and what a geek is. They need to really read up on that subject. I mean, I'm guessing you say this kind of goes out to the maker of Foamy the Squirrel. Check your facts, because I am a geek. I'm here to say I am a geek. I am a comic book geek. I'm a science fiction geek. I'm a monster movie geek. And like I said, I am not. I'm gonna say it right here, right now. I'm not a nerd. I'm not good at math. I'm not that good at science, so it's an interesting subject. Depends on what subject it is. Area of science that it is interesting. I said I'm not good at science, and I'm not always reading a book unless it's a comic. I said I'm not into like books. I'm into comic books. and graphic novels. That's all I read. And like I said, they need to. And like I said, to make, and said anybody out there that thinks they're the same thing, go do your research. Geeks and nerds are not the same thing. They're two completely different sectors of two completely different groups of people. And that's just me now. But what do y'all think? Am I right, or y'all think you have a different do y'all have a different opinion on the subject? Let me know. As always, drop me a comment in the comment box. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say on this subject. And well, guess that's all for this edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. And I just sorry this is kind of a short show, but it's just a really short subject without going into it with like charts and graphs and everything. Like I said, it's just plain and simple the subject in a nutshell right there. I said I'm sorry for being a short show, but like I said it's just short and sweet. It's just a short and sweet subject. And like I said, that's all for this week's episode. Sorry, I'm being distracted. There's a noise in here. As always, leave me a comment in the comment box. If you have a comment about the show, like, subscribe, and if y'all have any ideas, for the show, drop me a comment in the comment box. I would love to hear your ideas. I would love to hear your ideas. I'm always looking for stuff to talk about on the show, fresh new ideas and things to talk about here on the show. So like I said, just drop me a comment in the comment box. I would love to hear your ideas. I would love to hear from you. And I'll see y'all next time.